Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Do you know who your vestry members are? Like those of you who are here to stand up and be recognized as vestry. So we have Gail, Mark, Jim, and Robin. And Margie is off with spending time with her uncle in Quincy, Illinois this week. Thank you. Each of these people has made a 3-year commitment to serve St. Albans, managing big and small decisions to help us create a faith community where we can come together to worship God and then go out into the world to serve in Christ's name. These folks come together regularly, monthly, and often have other meetings that they attend besides that vestry meeting to ensure that we remain as fiscally responsible as we can, even as we try to overcome a significant deficit budget this year and anticipate some expensive property maintenance projects in the not-so-distant future. They pray for this community. They serve all of us with their unique skills, experiences, and talents, and they invite you to do the same. If they aren't in church any day of the week, accomplishing tasks or attending meetings, they are at home, taking care of things in emails and phone calls, or maintaining financial records. They are a sounding board for me and for one another. This group of people are the servant leaders of St. Albans. I appreciate how humble each is, how they ask for help, how they try to help each other, and all of you see what gifts and talents you have and help you find ways to use those gifts and talents here at St. Albans. Each is unique. Each has different ways of communicating. Each brings a different skill set to our little vestry. And together they have created a vestry where they can talk honestly and openly and listen deeply and with intent about what they think and believe St. Albans is here to do and be for God. They work together with a willingness to do and be who God has created them to be for St. Albans at this time in our history. It was this group of people who helped create the St. Albans leadership team, also known as SALT. Together we created SALT so that we could learn tools that will help more of us become better stewards of our gifts and talents, particularly when it comes to being leaders. This vestry will help to identify the goals and expectations and will invite others to join the vestry and SALT for 2019. This might sound like an advertisement, selling the qualities of a handful of people and the great gifts they bring to this community, and in some ways it is. It may also be thought of as an advertisement looking for a few good people to join the leadership of St. Albans as either vestry members or joining SALT. And that too would be true. But it is also a great way to help us understand why Jesus said some of what he said in today's gospel. Powerful and great are often words that describe leaders. And in some ways, those are good descriptors. Leaders come from many places. Perhaps some are self-identified, and others are hired into positions where others are invited or elected, like the members of the vestry, or are called into leadership, like many clergy and lay people. There are some leaders who are more interested in titles and rewards that may come with leadership than in the building up of a community of people, whether in business or for the glory of God. Jesus was concerned when James and John requested seats on either side of Jesus when they all entered into glory. James and John may have thought that the road to glory was a bit different than what Jesus knew would happen: the arrest, the trial, the flogging, the crucifixion, the death. Jesus needed them and the rest of the disciples to know that being Jesus' followers did not mean fame and glory and power and prestige. Instead, following Jesus meant they were to be servants to one another and to all those they would meet. Not slaves or hired help, but men and women who would go out into the world proclaiming their faith and belief in Jesus by example and humility and through giving of themselves. That was and is a different way of describing leaders, or at least some leaders. It seems that servant leadership provides a more heart-based, relationship-guided way of leading. Back in 1970, Robert K. Greenleaf wrote an essay where he coined the phrase servant leadership. I'd like to read some excerpts from that essay, because I truly believe these words describe what Jesus means, and it is what I have experienced from each member of your current vestry. The servant leader is servant first. It begins with the natural feeling that one wants to serve first. Then conscious choice brings one to aspire to lead. That person is sharply different from one who is leader first, perhaps because of the need to assuage an unusual power drive or to acquire material possessions. The leader first and the servant first are two extreme types. Between them are shadings and blends that are part of the infinite variety of human nature. The difference, he says, manifests itself in the care taken by the servant first to make sure that other people's highest priority needs are being served. The best test, and difficult to administer, is, do those served grow as persons? Do they, while being served, become healthier, wiser, freer, more autonomous, more likely themselves to become servants? And what is the effect on the least privileged in society? Will they benefit, or at least not be further deprived? He goes on to say, a servant leader focuses primarily on the growth and well-being of people and the communities to which they belong. While traditional leadership generally involves the accumulation and exercise of power by one at the top of the pyramid, servant leadership is different. The servant leader shares power, puts the needs of others first, and helps develop and performs as highly as possible. I don't know if Mr. Greenleaf was thinking about this passage from Mark when he coined the servant leader phrase, but I think it is a good way of describing what Jesus is trying to tell all of his followers. To put it all in a nutshell, a servant leader would be someone who might lead by using these 9 qualities as compiled by Skip Pritchard. A servant leader is one who, number 1, values diverse opinions. Number 2, cultivates a culture of trust. 3, develops other leaders. 4, helps people with life issues. 5, encourages. 6, sells instead of tells. 7, thinks you, not me. 8, thinks long term. And 9, acts with humility. And while I've been focusing on your vestry members, please look around you. and see how many others of you live as servant leaders. I'm thankful that we have so many people in this faith community who are willing to be servant leaders and to use these qualities to help St. Albans be a place where we can experience God. Thanks be to God. I'd like you to each turn in your Book of Common Prayer, the Red Book, to page 833. Find prayer number 62, and together let us pray. Lord, make us as instruments of your peace. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is discord, union. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. Grant that we may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, and to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive,